So thanks for attending today. We're here at Chandler House in Wigan and we're talking to a few practices around their membership of the Good Employment Charter. So we're just going to go around and introduce ourselves.
I'm Shelley Ryder and I am the Transformation Lead for Swan Primary Care Network.
Hi, I'm Tony Kelly. I'm one of the GPs in Marisbridge Practice.
Hi, I'm Charlie Luke. I'm one of the GPs at Hawkley Brook Medical Practice.
Hi, I'm Sarah Salmon. I'm a GP at the Grange Practice.
I'm Louise Kumar. I'm Practice Nurse Partner at Kumar Family Practice.
I'm Beth Caldwell, Practice Manager at Kumar Family Practice.
So what we'd probably like to touch on first is, what does good employment mean to your organisation?
I was attracted to Marisbridge just for its general reputation clinically, and I was aware that the staff there appeared to be happy, so I was aware of what a good employer appeared to be externally. And then when I joined, I felt I fitted into the value system and I believed in the value system, but it was something a bit intangible, something that isn't described. It's a feeling in an organisation where you feel trust and good relationship with your staff and your colleagues. The practice is long-serving and has stable staff, and I think it's one of the reasons for doing this is that we can maintain staff relationships over maybe 30 years, and then you get loyalty, you get trust, and you get flexibility, and I think that's really valued in any organisation. But in terms of the charter, I think it helped us align those values into a model. We didn't really know whether we fulfilled it when we first looked at it, and then it made us push for something a bit stronger as well.
So it's almost that knowing that you're good employers, but really having something to kind of evidence against of showing that you're good employers.
Yeah, and I think potentially the accreditation has a value as a signifier of who we are externally. So I think we know we were good, but now we can show we're good as well.
I think before we joined the Charter, I probably would have found it hard to come up with a definition of good employment. But as clinicians, we all recognise bad employment all the time. It's something we see with our patients. You know, people are in insecure work, poorly paid work, no support when they're unwell, and don't have any sort of resource or way to get out of that sometimes. And I think as practices, we've always subconsciously tried to build an environment where people feel secure, and then that allows them to get new skills and move onwards and have growth forwards in their careers if that's what they'd like. But until we sort of started looking into the Charter, it was difficult to really describe that, even though we were doing a lot of it already.
I mean, if you're thinking about what good employment is, I think it feels a little bit untangible, doesn't it? You have like Tony Echo said, you know what good feels like, but do we actually have a structure or something to validate that, or something to actually recognise that? So the opportunity to actually share ideas, see what good looks like, rate ourselves of, you know, how good a job are we actually doing and providing for our staff. Whilst it felt like a potential threat, the opportunity, I think we recognised, and that's why we wanted to explore it more.
Looking at what this means to us, we feel that in any employment, your staff should be your biggest asset, and I think they look after our patients and our practice, so I think it's only fair that they get that same value back from us, and the Good Employment Charter gives us that standard to work towards and fulfil.
I think it's important as part of the primary care network and as part of our vision, where we've built in workforce as a large section of that in terms of retention and support and sustainability going forwards. And I think actually we don't want to create any competition between practices, and if we all have equal employment standards, then that creates that resilience between ourselves.
So I know that last year we needed to recruit a GP, and this was in the beginning of the year before we got the award, and we had one application. We've had to since recruit a GP. We're in the process of sifting through 40 applications since we've become Good Employment Charter. Now, I'm not saying it's all from there. I do know that maybe there's not been as much locum work and different things like that, so there is a lot more people out there, but it must have made some sort of difference to it, so yeah.
So one of the things that we've really noticed since we joined the Charter is that at times when we have needed to recruit, it's been far easier.
In terms of going further in terms of the Charter, I think it opens up an opportunity to discuss well-being within the practice. I think our practice had a member of staff that actually was in charge of well-being on a weekly basis, which has now been deployed into the PCN. And I think that's just, again, another signifier of like how our staff matter.
I think there was two characteristics in particular for the Good Employment Charter that individual practices struggle to achieve, and two of those being the pay element of it, but also the health and wellbeing element of it. With the size of the practices being quite small, it was difficult to get a health and wellbeing service that fulfilled everything it needed to in such a small staffing environment. So that's something that we really took on board at PCN level, and we've employed a health and wellbeing champion.
For me, I think it's a value system. As a GP, have an income that it could be considered very preferential and good. I would find it difficult to work with staff which actually can't meet the basic standards of living. And so for me, it's a value system. I think there are risks going forward with NHS funding restrictions, but I think in the desire to have better pay, there should be novel ways of working to make that work for the organisation too. So I think it could be an opportunity.
So I think our practice, like the other practices, found meeting the higher wage threshold, sort of the idea of it felt like a challenge. What we've seen probably since we have joined is that it's a bit like when you go to the shops and you buy the cheapest thing or the one that's slightly better quality that lasts longer. So we've not seen much sick leave since we've joined. Staff have stayed for longer, so we've retained the skills that they've learned. We've not had to go out and recruit, all of which costs time and money. We're not having to train new staff from the beginning again, which again costs time and money. So whilst it felt like a big jump initially, we have seen, I think, that the increasing quality of our staff and increased retention, and that in some ways has made up for it. I'm not going to lie, that it has meant that as partners we've taken home slightly less money, but I think I've taken home less stress as well, so that perhaps makes up for it.
I think you do have to acknowledge the real concern that ultimately, to me, it's not even an enhanced payment, isn't it? It's recognition of what is a living wage for our staff. There will be some financial uncertainty, but equally, I think it massively acknowledges your investment in your staff. You value them, you want to contribute to their development, want them to stay within your team and grow as part of that team, but also reflect that value they give to delivering primary care for us.